Hello there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. The NAACP is the nation's largest and oldest civil rights organization. And now that the NAACP moves past the borders of the United States into other countries where we can claim to have branches, we make that transformation from a civil rights organization to that of a human rights organization. And what that means is that we acknowledge that we are all beholden to one another. We also acknowledge that often when we have civil rights that we're fighting for, it's because the government has decided that human rights should be taken away. I look at the signs behind me today, and I think about the struggles of all people. I think about those in eastern Washington that are working in shanties, where people say that they are undocumented, so therefore less than human, who are told to go home, who are told they don't have rights, who are afraid to attend schools. And stand here saying to you now that if the NAACP turns a blind eye to that, we turn a blind eye to slave conditions. So we can't do so understanding the historical underpinnings of our organization. I stand here today thinking about the plight of those that have been deported, who came here understanding what the vision of this nation apparently was. Open arms, welcoming you here, saying that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. We know that in this system of government, we know that in this place, in this country, we have struggled with those words since they were written. We know that African Americans were deemed 3/5 of a person. We know that others were not deemed human beings at all. We know that voting rights were stripped or never even given. But there is hope. And before I move into that hope that I think there is, I want to tell you the story of a young man, 15 years old, African American, been in trouble before, on probation, hoping to go back to school this year. And I want to tell you about his juvenile probation officer, African American woman, same complexion as him, who says, I believe in your possibilities, I believe in your opportunities, and I believe so much in your opportunities that what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to make sure that this year, this opportunity to go back to school for you will be better than other opportunities you've had in the past. And we're going to start with clothes. So I'm going to give you this school clothes voucher. We're going to go down to Sears and Roebuck's. Well, I guess it's just Sears now. We're going to go down to Sears, and you're going to choose your clothes. She lives up to her word. She takes him down to Sears. He feels good about the clothes that he's bought. On some level, because he's never really been in that spot before where he gets new clothes before walking into school. His probation officer believes that this young man has opportunity. He has capabilities. She has high expectations for him. She drops him off not too far from here, 23rd and Jackson, right by the Starbucks. And as she's headed home, she hears a frantic call. It's the young man that she bought the school clothes for. It's the young man that used that voucher that was on his way to feeling really good about that day where he was going to go to school and know that he had new clothes, he's here to compete, it's a new opportunity, and people actually believe in me. And that frantic call, what she hears on the other end of the line is that police officers have stopped him. What she hears on the other end of the line is that police officers have grabbed that Sears bag and degraded this young man and reached into the bag and told him, you stole these clothes. What she hears is that this police officer has ignored that Sears never called the police and said anybody stole anything. What she knows is that this young man is now at least 5 miles away from the Sears in which things were purchased. She tells the young man, please let me speak to the officers. I can vouch for you. And as she's talking to the officer, she hears from the officer, first of all, let me take a step back. Because there's still a conversation that she can hear between the young man and another officer. And that conversation between the young man and the other officer, while she's talking to the officer on the phone, goes a little bit like this. Give us your social security number. The young man saying, I don't have to give you that. I don't have to give you that. I gave you my name. You have my ID. The officer on the phone talking to the African American probation officer says, well, you know, he's been lippy with us. So we're going to show him how we do it in the Central District. Now, please understand what the Central District has always meant to people of color and people that have always respected diversity. Please understand that probation officer on the other end of the phone was born and raised in the Central District. That this young man that is in the process of being humiliated and made to feel that he is less than a human being was born and raised in the Central District, and that the officers that are letting him know how we do it in the Central District are not from the Central District. And so this probation officer says, I cannot let this stand. I know the truth. So she turns around and she makes the valiant decision to go back up there and speak to the officers. She gets out of her car, she walks up to the officer, she shows her badge. She says, are you really going to arrest this child when you know he hasn't stolen anything? I can vouch for him. He hasn't stolen anything. I can vouch for him. I was there. I gave him the voucher to buy the school clothes. Instead of being accorded the respect of a person that actually happens to be part of the system, she was grabbed by the arm and pulled away herself. The young man is in tears, handcuffed, up against the car. People are screaming from the corner, they've done nothing wrong. The probation officer calls the police on the police. And as she's speaking to the police officer saying what has happened is wrong, and they know that they are violating one's rights, they know they're violating my rights and something has to be done, the police officer takes the phone. Ignore this call. The call is ignored. The juvenile probation officer stands there, still not willing to completely back down. Says, well, can I call my supervisor? They say, not with that phone. She says, well, I have another phone in my car. And what they say is, well, I suppose maybe we'll let you call your supervisor. But before we do, we need to search your car and your purse. And this probation officer says, I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you violate my constitutional rights. And it's not about whether or not I have anything in my car or in my purse, because I don't. It's about the rights that are afforded to me. It's about what this young man sitting here in cuffs believes in terms of his opportunities and the fact that I look like him. And if I am treated in the same fashion, then why would he go to college as I did? Why would he stay on the straight and narrow? Why would he climb to be anything different? She says no, but then she realizes that the only chance really of keeping that young man out of jail that night is to let